Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Girls Like Hoops podcast. I'm Tori. I hope you guys are having a great week. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe, please. I'm trying to get to 1,000. And if you're listening to this, follow me on whatever you're listening to this on to stay up to date on new episodes. There will be new episodes out every Thursday. And if you want to know if an episode is coming at all, because sometimes they won't come, we'll see what happens. We'll play it by ear. But I'm always gonna let you know updates on Twitter and on TikTok as well when the episode is live. And I also always share the link and everything. So if you want to stay up to date with me and my thoughts and opinions on the game, live type stuff, feel free to go over on Twitter and follow me. Everything is linked in the link tree below. Lastly, why I haven't been on here in a while. My team went out really bad and I just... shout out to the Aces on their championship win. You know, the Lynx cooked y'all and then y'all turned a corner. It was the craziest corner turn I'd ever seen, but shout out to y'all. That's some like championship MVP caliber level type stuff, and just shout out to the Aces. Shout out to them for another ring. Well deserved. I think my team just went out so bad and just in such an like unfortunate way that it was just like like I wasn't gonna be able to come on here and talk about that. And also I just simply, my heart wasn't in it during the WNBA season. I'm still deciding if my heart is in it right now. You know, we'll see. We'll play it by ear. I'll let y'all know by 2027 if we're just gonna end it. But yeah. Unrivaled, let's discuss. I was going to talk about my initial thoughts on the teams, but it low-key starts getting kind of muddy because I start like mixing in with what I saw from the game. So we'll just talk about the games and then I'll add that input in. We'll talk about a little bit of the stats. I'm not going to be like super mean or anything. It's the first week. We're here for a bag. And they're just here to have a good time, compete. And I feel like, I don't know, this is just a very like fan and player centered kind of league, which I really appreciate. Before we get into the games though, I did want to briefly discuss, I think a lot of people have kind of been talking about Unrivaled, at least in the women's basketball space. I've seen a couple of tweets since the games came on Monday, and some people were kind of like, oh, 3-on-3, like I just don't like it. Unrivaled is just like, I just can't get into it. And, you know, really kind of being fairly critical. And I don't know. I think that people obviously can have their opinions and people should have their own opinions. And at the same time, I think that as a consumer, you know, you get to decide, you know, what you watch. You get to decide where you're putting your money, you know, where you're putting your viewership. And if you don't want to support Unrivaled, like you don't have to. And I think the same thing goes for Project B. Like you get to decide where you're putting your viewership and what you're supporting. And that's really it. You know, there's nothing that anybody can say that's going to stop Project B from happening. If you don't know what that is, it's going to be another league that's going to be in direct competition with Unrivaled because it's going to be taking place during the off season. I think maybe they said a little bit into training camp. So I'm interested to see what happens there with the players who have signed on, but a lot of WNBA players have signed on. But before we get into the games, I do kind of want to talk about some of the critiques that I've seen about Unrivaled. I've kind of seen people kind of be really critical about it. People being critical about a lot of things, honestly. Nafisa had said something about the WNBA and the CBA and how, you know, she knows there's a lot to unpack here, okay? I'm going to start by saying that, you know, I think that if you don't enjoy Unrivaled, like that's fine. If you don't like 3-on-3 basketball, that's fine. I think as a consumer, you have the power to, you know, put your money behind things that you care about and want to see. You know, you have the power to turn the television station if it's on TV and you don't want to give something your viewership. And I think that sometimes people get lost in that, but I don't really love the critiques about Unrivaled because I think that the purpose of the league like far outweighs like any con that you could come up with. I think that the ultimate pro is that these are players that we enjoy watching, that we kind of, you know, have built some type of fan to player rapport with, and they deserve to be paid. And Unrivaled is the place that's happening. And I don't know. I think that people are very critical of it, and I just don't think that it has to be that way. If you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. But I think the same with Project B. Like, if you don't want to support, you know, a league where you don't really know where the money's coming from, or like it's like a little iffy, a little shaky for you, don't. Like, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to pay to watch it. Like, you don't have to. I think that's what's so great about life. You do not have to. You can, but you don't have to. And you just have to figure out what works best for you. I do think that there's a bigger conversation to be had about that situation and the conversation that's being had, but I'm going to leave that there. If you do want to support some of these off-season leagues like Athletes Unlimited, Unrivaled, eventually maybe Project B, like, you should do that. Find whatever works for you, whatever you want to see, and then go out there and do that. But it's up to you. It's up to you. Anyways, let's get into the games. On Monday, we had 4 games. 2 of them were smack in the middle of the day. I thought that was insane. I get it, it's opening day, but like on a Monday, be for real. Anyways, and then on top of that, I think it also kind of bothers me that rewatching the games, you have to get that done sooner rather than later, because those games are going to be off the streaming service that you're watching it on. Like, they're gone. But that's neither here nor there. I was able to watch the first and second games, and then I didn't watch the third one, or I didn't rewatch the third one. I went to a restaurant on Monday, and when the game was on, I was like, oh, can you turn to TNT? I'm trying to watch Unrivaled. And so they did, and that game was so embarrassing, but we'll get to that later. Anyways, the first game, Miss versus Hive. The Miss beat the Hive 72-56. I really liked this matchup because of the bigs, being able to see Ezzy and Alana play against each other, I think is really cool, because they're both on the Australia national team. And yeah, we see that matchup in season, but I think that, I don't know, I kind of preferred it here just because both of those players aren't necessarily, I won't say offensive minded, because I do think that Alana Smith kind of looks for her shot a little bit more, but they're definitely not like players that feel that they need to, like they don't have to put up 25, 30. Their role is more, let's get these rebounds. If you can shoot it, please do, but like, it's really up to you. Play it by ear. So kind of having this, like, seeing them in an environment where they have to kind of be offensive and think about that has been exciting and interesting to see. The Miss beat them on the boards 43-38. And there were just a lot of blocks and steals for both teams. Ultimately, the Miss were just more efficient. The starting lineup was Alicia Gray, Veronica Burton, and Brianna Stewart. I really like the length of the team. They're long, and a lot of them are offensive-minded, which I think was very helpful. I think for me, I was kind of concerned about the team because I was like, dang, they're kind of long. I don't, like, how are they going to look like getting up and down the court? But I feel like they played really well, and they just had really good ball movement throughout the game, as well as everyone just being ready to play defense and making every shot tough, which I really enjoyed, and which I think really was the thing that helped them against the Hive, because the Hive, I think they're very young, yeah, but I think the game plan to, like, we just got to get up and down the floor, we just got to run. I don't know, that was confusing for me when I heard that was the game plan, because that's everybody's game plan, is it not? There's not really any transition. There's not really an opportunity for too much like transition offense and like just being able to score off of that alone, just because like everybody's getting up and down the court. The court is like compact. It's not, it doesn't take everything, but also anybody who's on the court is like giving it their all to get back on defense. So I think the Hive might need to rework their game plan. Also, just because towards the end you could kind of tell that all of the running had kind of got to some of them, because they aren't really like super conditioned for that, because a lot of the players like on the Hive are new. So I'm interested to see what the coach does next game, but I don't really know if I'm in love with that game plan. And but also people were just settling in, so it's really tough to even really be critical. And like I said, I'm not even going to be critical because it's week 1, but that was more so something I noticed from a team perspective. Anyways, Alicia Gray, she looked amazing out there as always. And obviously, she's always happy to play, and she plays well on both ends of the floor. So she put on a great performance for, their first game of the year. Alana Smith was cooking on defense. The team as a whole had 7 blocks at the half. And I really like that she was being more aggressive offensively. Like I mentioned before, her and Ezzy aren't necessarily players that, you look to drop like 20 points or something. But, you do kind of need them to put up at least like 6 to 10 shots. It's not just about them rebounding and blocking. Like, they also have to be thinking about, oh, I have to shoot, because the time clock, all the things. But there was one thing, I think this is the first game, so I don't think that it's like a glaring issue, but the beginning of like closing the game, I kind of felt like people started really getting sped up. That was around the time, I think, when Enrique was in there with a couple of other players, and they kind of just started taking some like ill-advised shots. And Veronica Burton and Brianna Stewart went in there, and like, I don't know, it was like the energy immediately shifted, and they kind of like calmed everything down, and they just made the right and smart play. And I thought that was really fun, and that's what I really enjoy about 3-on-3 basketball, is that I feel like 3-on-3 is really just being able to make the best and the right basketball decisions quickly. And I think you can obviously see like where some players really excel at that, and where, some are kind of, that's going to be something that they have to work on. And I think Paige did a really great job of kind of getting the ball back in her hands at times and being like, okay, let's calm down. Let's try to make something happen. I think Veronica Burton did a really great job of that as well. Natasha Cloud. And those are really the kind of like the only names that are really coming to my mind right now. But I felt like I really like that. And I think that that's the thing that's kind of setting some players apart from others in this league so far. And honestly, even just to be able to see some of the younger players come in and be able to make those good and right basketball decisions so early on in their career has been really fun. So let's get into the stats. Veronica Burton had 14 points, 6 assists, 8 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. I really enjoyed her game. Like, I thought she looked great for the Valkyries anyways, but seeing her here and just seeing like the continued elevation of her game has been really like a treat to see, and it's been great. Alicia Gray had 21 points, 3 assists, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and was 7 of 15 from the field. I really liked Alicia's performance, and like, she just looks great. Like, she just continues to get better every game that she plays, whether it's in the WNBA or whether it's in Unrivaled or whatever. She always comes back like with a little bit more to her game, and I really like that. For Brianna Stewart, she had 12 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 block. Enrique had 12 points, 3 assists, and 3 rebounds. I'm not really going to talk about her efficiency because I don't really think that anybody's efficiency is going to be great per se in this league, because you have to get so many shots up. But she played the most minutes, and I felt like she really found her groove like in the back half of the game. And I enjoyed seeing that. I hope that she's able to kind of find her footing in the WNBA with the Wings or whatever team she ends up going to, because she's going to be a free agent. But I'm interested to see what happens there, but I'm happy that she's like to see her like kind of playing, and she kind of looks a little bit more like herself. I don't know. I think last season with the WNBA, she looked a little bit different. And then also in Unrivaled last year, I don't really know. Like, I don't know. She didn't play like a ton with the vinyl or for the vinyl, because I think she was hurt at different points. But again, happy to see her healthy and happy to see her kind of thriving and being able to play, amongst some players like Brianna and Veronica and Alicia and Alana and Lee. So this is really cool. Anyways, Alana Smith, 10 points, 6 rebounds, 5 blocks, and was 5 of 10 from the field. I really like that for her. And I hope that if she really wants to, fingers crossed, if she wants to be more offensive minded in the WNBA, please feel free to do that, Alana. Please feel free to do that, sister. You were out there hooping. You were cooking. Shout out to Alana Smith, former co-defensive player of the year, mind you. Anyways, Leah Rue, 3 points, 4 rebounds, 1 block. She didn't play crazy minutes, so I was really like pleased to see that on the stat sheet. Just because, I think also, even when players don't play too many minutes, seeing what their impact on the game was is really important too, because that kind of just tells you what kind of player they are, like headspace mentally wise, and where are some points for them to grow. But those are my thoughts right there for the Mist. I really enjoyed them playing, and I think they could really be great throughout the rest of the season. For the Hive, starting lineup was Kelsey Mitchell, Sonia Citron, and Ezzie Magbagor. Sonia, she was in a little bit of foul trouble early in the first, and she struggled a bit this game offensively, but she always gives her all on defense, and she gives it her best effort. So it's just like one of those things, even when she struggles, this could probably be like one of the worst games we ever see from her of her career. I think Paige said something really great that I think could be applied to a lot of the younger players in the league, of like, this is like the worst we're going to see them she had said that about Dominique, but which is also really cool that we get to see the first and second round pick play together, but we also get to see what could have been with the LA Sparks with Cameron and Rakia. So that's been fun as well. But back to what I was saying. I think you can apply that to a couple of them. Like Kiki didn't have that great of a game, but again, it's kind of like with Sonia and Kiki, like, you know, the game just has to slow down for them, and this is very fast paced, and a lot of the players do have experience playing 3-on-3, so, you know, just like they just have to find their footing. And I think you can say the same thing for Kelsey Mitchell. She struggled a bit, like, efficiency wise, but we know what she's capable of. You know, she just has to settle in, and, you know, the team in general just kind of has to figure each other out, and I think that they, you know, they can be good. I like the team. I think they have the right pieces there. It's just going to be about, you know, them figuring it out, getting the chemistry together. But Monique Billings had a really great game. She had 16 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, and was 5 of 13 from the field. I felt like Natisha Heidemann facilitated well. She didn't play like a ton, but I felt the energy kind of was different when she was on the court as opposed to Kelsey at the time, just because, like, you know, it was just, she's played in Unrivaled before, so she kind of has like that rhythm and flow to it. So yeah, but Kelsey Mitchell, she had 11 points, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, 4 of 13 from the field. Sonia Citron had 10 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block. And we won't discuss the efficiency. It's really not important. But, you know, again, she gave her all on defense, and that's the thing that kept her on the floor. So I liked that. Natisha Heidemann had 9 points, 4 rebounds, and was 4 of 7 from the field. It honestly felt like she had a bigger impact on the game than she did. She didn't even play that many minutes, but she played well. Ezzy Mabagor had 6 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and 4 blocks. And Sanaya Rivers she only played 6 minutes, but she had 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 steals, and 1 block. And again, I think that's just one of those things, like, you didn't play that much, but, you know, you still impacted the game. And how did you impact the game? And I think, obviously, she always gives her all on defense as well. So I'm kind of hoping to see more of Sanaya, just because I think that I really enjoy watching her, especially with the Sun, even though, like, they weren't, like, you know, they were a team that was struggling because they were young and everything last season. She was definitely one of the bright spots in there, along with Lacan. So I'm interested to see what happens there. But, you know, the Hive, they made it through their first game. So shout out to them. Next up, we have Vinyl versus Laces. The Laces beat the Vinyl 58-42. I think the Laces won this one simply just by making shots and turning up the intensity in the second half. That was a really big shift for them. The Laces just, they didn't look bad at the beginning, but the Vinyl were kind of like, they were kind of having their way a little bit. For the Vinyl, the starting lineup was Dearica Hamby, Courtney Williams, and Ryan Howard. Courtney, she passed the ball well at the start. I felt like Erica Wheeler was definitely having a really great first quarter. I don't think the Vinyl ever even really hit any shots in the fourth. Like, I think I went back and tried to see what the score was at the beginning of the game for them, and they just never really hit a shot. The Laces just really, like, they just turned up the intensity in at the halftime. Like, that's really just what it was. With the Vinyl, I don't really place them too high. My initial thoughts were like, they're not going to be that great. I think my initial thoughts were I had them pretty low at the bottom, just because I feel like this team is missing something. Like, yes, you have dogs on the team, but I don't know. The scoring, they shot 17 of 48 from the field. It was a fairly low scoring game, and nobody had more than 12 points. And, like, it's okay to have 12 points if everybody's going to have 12 points, but everybody didn't have 12 points. The team shot 17 of 48. Erica Wheeler had 12 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, and was 4 of 10 from the field. She had a really great first quarter, though, and then nobody else was able to match those 12 points. I think if everybody had 12 points, maybe we'd be having a different conversation here, but the team shooting 17 of 48, that's just not going to work. That's just not going to work. I think some of it was ill-advised shots. Some of it was just, you know, being sped up. So it's really, like, tough to say. And again, I'm not going to be super critical because it's week 1. And I agreed with Lisa Leslie when she was talking about Ryan Howard at the beginning of the game, because at the beginning, I think she shot she opened the game with a 3, I think. And she didn't make it. I think she tried to hit another one on the way back down. And she didn't hit that one either. And I was kind of like, I kind of agree with Lisa. I agree with Lisa on this one. Ryan does get a little bit complacent with the threes at times, and she doesn't have to. Like, she's a very well-rounded player. Like, she can finish in the contact. Like, I think she's a very good player. I think it's just really, again, about making those good basketball decisions. Now, the thing is this: had she hit 8 of those 10, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But it is, even when she's making them, you do kind of have to ask yourself sometimes, like, was that the right shot to take then? I don't know. But if she believed in it, hey, who am I? But I think that over like the next few years, I think she's gonna settle in there, and she's gonna find her sweet spot. And again, I will say that if she were to have made like 6 of the 10 that she took from 3, we wouldn't be having the conversation. It just is that she took 10 threes, but she only had 15 shots overall. So only 5 of those were like mid-range or free throws or finishing around the rim. And I don't know. I think that the balance on that should be a little bit different. I like to see her take less threes. I know that she's capable of making them, but I don't think that just because you can shoot the 3 doesn't mean that you always have to. And I would kind of like to see her kind of like trust herself a little bit more and get in the paint, because she's somebody who I don't think personally can be stopped. But dear Camby, she had 8 points, 11 rebounds, and she was also 4 of 10 from the field. Courtney Williams had 8 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, and was 4 of 9 from the field. Ray Burrell had 2 points and 3 rebounds. And yeah, it's a pretty good game. Brittany Griner did get in there for like a good 2 minutes. Put up, I think, was it a free throw or did she get a shot? I don't know. I don't really remember, but she was in there for 2 minutes and I think got a rebound. I think some people were kind of talking about that in the TikTok live that I do with another women's basketball creator. And people were kind of talking about what their expectations are for Brittany Griner. And I just had to really be real and be like, I don't really know that anybody has crazy expectations for BG. And honestly, they shouldn't, because she's just not at the point in her career where putting up 20 is something that is feasible every night. I don't think that needs to be feasible. I think she should just go out there, play some defense, and rebound. That's really it. And I'd be perfectly fine with that. So if that's going to be her role on the team, I'm pleased with it. And I think that she could also win a good amount of matchups just because of the height thing. So I guess we'll see how Teresa Witherspoon decides to play her and see what happens with the rest of the team. But yeah, I don't really have the Vinyl doing much this season. They did make it to the championship last season. So like, who am I? I didn't really buy into them last year. I think they did they hit their stride when they needed to. So if they can hit their stride when they need to, they'll probably be in the playoffs. But I'm not really, this isn't like a championship level team to me. That's just me personally though. But again, this is the first week. We'll see what happens. For the Laces, the starting lineup was Jackie Young, Brittany Sykes, and Alyssa Thomas. Brittany Sykes really had an amazing third quarter, like actually took it over. I think they said she had 4 points in the first half, and then after halftime, she completely changed the momentum. She had 15 points, I believe, in the third quarter. She was out there hooping. After the half, the team in general, they came out there with higher intensity and effort, and that's just what won them the game. Jackie was very methodical. I think she also has moments where, she's able to kind of like, oh, can I get the ball and like slow things down? Okay, well, what shot can we get here? And she also made some really great passes to AT. But yeah, I really like that Jackie's growing as a facilitator, especially because if she does stay on the Aces, and eventually when Chelsea retires, I think that, that's going to be a much better like fit for her if she is facilitating. But I think this is really great practice, and I don't know, I like it. So shout out to Jackie. Also hit the game winner. The team shot 25 of 56, so a little bit better than the Vinyl. For Brittany Sykes, she had 19 points, 7 rebounds, was 8 of 17 from the field. Really great game for her. Jackie Young had 15 points, 5 rebounds, and was 6 of 14 from the field. Jordan Canada had 8 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Maddie Segrist, she played some good defense. She put up 6 shots, made 3 of them. She had 6 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals. Alyssa Thomas had 6 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and she actually played like the least minutes, and she still impacted the game very well. We already know what AT can do. Nas Hillman had 4 points, 8 rebounds, and was 2 of 3 from the field. I think the Vinyl were their game plan a little bit that I saw was kind of like sagging off of AT because she's kind of not gonna take some of the shots just because that's just not really her game. Sometimes she's more so looking for other people and to rebound, but she had a really good game despite not playing heavy minutes. So shout out to AT. Next up we have Owls versus Rose. The Rose won 80-62. I truly don't really know where to begin or what to say about this game. The Lunar Owls are definitely not my team. This is not even a shell of the team that I once knew. This is something else entirely. This is something new, the new creation, because this Owls team, terrible. Just awful. And honestly, I'll be really real with you. When the team got announced, I was like, girl, the only thing saving them is Fee and Skylar. Fee not playing. Skylar didn't play this game, and they were extremely exposed. I was embarrassed watching the game. I had turned the game on, and I was like, I don't even want to look no more. The Owls had 17 turnovers, girl. 17, you heard it right. I'm saying it's week 1, but they look awful. God. I hate that. Marina was out there. Aaliyah Edwards was out there. Let Aaliyah Edwards give her tens. She had 23 points, 12 rebounds, and was 10 of 19 from the field. And she was the only reason they were scoring points at all at one point. Okay? Then Aaliyah got hurt. So Marina had to step it up. She had 23 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists. 9 of 26 from the field, 1 of 12 from 3. Marina was struggling, but she was trying. Marina, she was hungry for she really did try to put the team on her back and try to go on a run in the third, but she just didn't have enough. I don't even know how the game started. I didn't even go back and rewatch this game because I was like, I don't even want to see that again. I can't look at that. I can't analyze that. I don't want to analyze that, so I'm not. Rebecca, Rachel, and Timmy combined for 16 points. And I'm going to go ahead and be really real and say that y'all are going to have to step it up. It's only week 1, but for y'all to go out the way that y'all did, I will say it was more of a higher scoring game. And, they weren't out there just atrocious, but these aren't great numbers. So I'm interested to see what they come back with whenever they play next. But right now, I'm not even going to hold you. Nothing about this team moves me outside of Marina and Aaliyah. And we'll see what they look like with Skylar. I think that she's going to help them. I just don't know if that's enough. I just don't know if that's enough. Anyways, we have the Rose, no Kalia Copper, but Chelsea Gray, very dominant performance. 35 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals, 14 of 20 from the field, 5 of 10 from 3. The point guard for a reason. Azure has 19 points, 10 rebounds, and was 7 of 18 from the field. Shakira Austin also, gave us a little something with 12 points, 6 rebounds. And then Lexi and Sug Sutton combined for 14 points. Lastly, we had Phantom versus Breeze. The Breeze beat the Phantom 69-62. I have a couple of notes here. I did them by hand this time. And then we'll get into the stats. For the Phantom, there was no Satu or Dana Evans. So it was just Tiffany Hayes, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Plum, Natasha Cloud, and Kiki Iriefin. For the Phantom, I felt like in the fourth quarter, there was just a little bit of miscommunication. A few possessions led to turnovers, just them passing, assuming that their teammate was going to cut. But again, these are just little things that obviously the first week you're kind of going to struggle with getting used to and acclimated with playing with players that you haven't played with before or haven't played with for a long time. So yeah, outside of that, I felt like the Phantom, they played fairly decently. I really did enjoy the back and forth for these teams, though. I think Paige had mentioned that, there was a lot of trash talking and, a lot of the, those players, they're older, they're vets. So they were kind of oh, these young kids don't need these calls. And it was very fun. If you guys haven't seen that interview with Paige, I thought it was very fun. That's where she talked about Dominique Malonga and this kind of being the worst that she's ever going to look. And, she's only going to get better from here. And that, I feel goes for a lot of the players in Unrivaled, which is exciting. But yeah, for me personally, I felt like Tiffany Hayes, we have the same beef that we had last year. She just be flopping allegations, like, and they're not even allegations, just be flopping. So I'm not gonna lie, I would kind of like to see maybe in the future Unrivaled have like a flopping rule, just because I see some people on the floor a little too much. But that's I'm put a pin in that for now. KP, I felt like this is tough because Kelsey Plum is one of my favorite players, so it's kind of like I think that she's very capable of hitting the shots that she took, but some of them were ill-advised, some of them, like, I think she took 10 threes too. Overall, she had 17. She took 17 shots, made 5 of them. So really, she kind of has similar numbers to Ryan in a way. I think it is a little bit different just because Kelsey Plum did have that 3-point record in college. And so it is a little bit different because I think that she's very capable of hitting those threes. I think that Ryan's capable of hitting the threes. I don't know, guys. I'm not even going to critique KP. I just love KP. So I hope to see her game. It gets cleaned up a little bit. She's a very capable player, can finish well around the rim, can take the contact, high energy player. So whatever issue she's having, she'll figure them out. As for Leah Boston, she had 3 fouls in the third. I think she looks better so far compared to how she looked in Unrivaled last year. I think she's definitely playing at the level that we saw her play at during the WNBA season. And she really kind of had to step up because of the amount of injuries that team had. And I think that, she came out better for it. And you can see that right now. I think not that she used to play timid, but I don't know, you can kind of just see the aggression a little bit more, but also I think that you can see the confidence in her skill a lot more. So that's been enjoyable. I know that a lot of people are critical of AB and how she plays because she does get pretty physical at times. And I don't know, I think it's just like one of those things where, like, if the refs are allowing it, it is what it is. You got to be able to play through that. I actually ended up having a conversation on TikTok Live the other day about this game, and one of the people was like, oh, like, Dominique was getting cooked by Aaliyah Boston, and so I hadn't seen the game yet, so I didn't really have an opinion, and so when I went back and watched it, there were definitely moments where that did happen, but I think that that's okay because Dominique Malonga, like, if you look at her, she's 19. You know what I'm saying? She's tall. She's figuring things out. She's really only just starting to get real good control of the limbs. But I think that's just like a tougher matchup. And so I think for me, that's my concern with the Breeze. I really like the Breeze. I think they're very young. They're going to be scrappy. Paige is going to keep them together. Noelle Quinn is a good coach, I think, for everybody, just because she's also just super calm, very great understanding of the game. But I think I'm concerned about how their bigs will match up with any other bigs. Like, they won this game mostly because of, Dominique rebounding and, the points that she put up as well. Paige making the right basketball decisions, and Rakia had a good game as well. But when it comes to Cameron Brink and Dominique Malonga needing to defend a BG or a Brianna Stewart or a Leah Rue or an Alana Smith, I don't know. I was excited to see Cameron Brink play. I kind of forgot that, like, fouling is, like, that's her Achilles heel low key. And I think screens also, the screens weren't that great. I think her and Dominique kind of have to work on the screens, and even Aaliyah Boston. Aaliyah Boston was over there hip checking a little bit. I saw that a little bit. So I'm my eyes are on that. But Cameron was just knocking knees with people left and right. She kind of struggled offensively. And she just kind of has to work on finishing strong. I think that that's really it. Her and Dominique have to work on finishing a little bit stronger. But again, I agree that this is the worst we're going to see them. Like, Cameron hasn't even played a full season of pro basketball yet. So I'm not really going to critique her on anything. I think she just really has to work on staying vertical, work on the timing, and also just like when to kind of like, you don't have, like, I really like that she doesn't give up on possessions. She's not just giving somebody a free lane to the basket, but it's also like sometimes when you do have 3 or 4 fouls, how do you adjust the way that you defend? And I think that's just going to be a learning curve for her and Dominique and for some of the younger bigs that are going to be coming into the league next season. But Kiki also struggled in this matchup for the Phantom. And it's kind of, I do think that this probably will be one of the worst games we see from her, but even this was still fairly decent. Like, she had 6 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. I think it was just like, this was just a tougher matchup just because everybody's long, or if they weren't long, they were just a little bit faster. And so it was like, a little bit tougher to keep up and defend well against them. So I'm interested to see, what she's able to do over the course of the Unrivaled season. And then obviously what she does in the WNBA. But I'm excited to see like what Kiki's able to do. We've seen great things from her so far, so I'm sure she's going to be great. Lastly, we'll talk about Paige, and then we'll discuss the final stats, and I'll let you guys go, of course. For Paige, she got her first foul in the third quarter, and so did Aaliyah Boston. So I really like the way that they're playing the game. I felt like she made some good passes throughout the entirety of the game. And I think that if anything, watching Paige play really showed that there is levels to this. Like, obviously, we know that there's levels to it. Not everybody's on in Asia, Stewie Fee level. Not everybody's on, a Paige, Jackie. I'm trying to think of some other elite guards. I'm low-key blanking right now. But I think that the thing that people, like I said before, that's really great about 3-on-3 basketball, you can really see who's able to make the right basketball decisions in, quickly. You were really able to see that in some of the players. And I think Paige is just like one of those players who always makes the right decision and is playing basketball the right way. And I know like what is the right way to play basketball, but I think that's just making the right decision. Like, there were a couple of possessions throughout the game where Paige could have, been offensive minded and could have just gone up there and, got 35 or something points. But instead of doing that, involving her teammates and looking for the best shot, not just the first or second one that comes. So I really like that about Paige. Obviously, she makes the basketball fun to watch. And I think that because of that and that level of leadership, I think that, she can take the breeze a lot further than, and I think this team is a lot better with her on it than not. Like, I don't think that, I'll be really honest, I don't know if I think that with any other player kind of running the point, I don't know if I think that this team could go as deep as I think they can go into the playoffs, but I definitely think they have a really great chance of something great this season, and I'm excited to watch them. They're my favorite team so far. So we'll get into the stats. For the Phantom, Tiffany Hayes had 20 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and was 8 of 14 from the field. Aaliyah Boston had 18 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, was 9 of 15 from the field. Kelsey Plum had 12 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, was 5 of 17 from the field. Natasha Cloud had 6 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. And Kiki had 6 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists. For the Breeze, Paige had 24 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks, and was 7 of 15 from the field. Dominique Malonga had a double-double and had 17 points, 14 rebounds, and was 6 of 10 from the field. Still fairly efficient despite, her matchup being a little tougher. For Rakia, she had 16 points, 5 rebounds, and was 7 of 16 from the field. For Kate, she had 8 points, 3 rebounds, and was 4 of 7 from the field. Cameron Brink had 4 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 blocks. And Ari had 2 points. She didn't get to play for that long. I don't know if she got injured or not. I guess we're still waiting on further information from that. But really great start to the Unrivaled season. And I'm excited to see what happens. If you guys have any thoughts or want to share your opinions about your ranking of the team, I'm probably going to put my rankings of teams in the comments or like in the description of the episode. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll put them on the screen. I don't really know. I don't feel like ranking them right now. It's getting kind of late. But I do appreciate you guys for listening and watching. If you want to, please feel free to come back next week and we'll discuss the games that are coming on, let me check the calendar, on Friday. Who's playing on Friday? Hold on. For the games coming up before the next episode comes on Friday, we have Vinyl versus Rose. I personally think the Rose are going to cook the Vinyl. We'll see what happens, though. That's actually like a little championship rematch. So maybe that's going to be an exciting game. Then we have Breeze versus Hive. That's going to be an exciting game because those are the two youngest teams in the league. And I think the Breeze can definitely beat the Hive, but I do think that the Hive could beat the Breeze depending on what's happening with the matchups in the post. Then on Saturday we have Owls versus Phantom. I definitely think the Phantom are beating the Owls. Well, if Skylar's playing, maybe they have a better chance, but if Satu is over, if Dana's playing, just forfeit. Anyways, then we have Laces versus Miss. That's going to be a fun matchup. Those are two good teams. Then on Sunday we have Rose versus Breeze, and who do I think is winning that? That's going to be an interesting game. That's going to be a good game, actually. The Rose might beat them, but I'm going to be rooting for the Breeze. And then we have Hive versus Vinyl. Now that's going to be interesting. I think the Hive team should be settled in enough to win that game versus the Vinyl. The Vinyl could surprise me, and they might have a good shooting game, so maybe they might win that one. Then on Monday, we have Mist versus Phantom. I think the Mist probably gonna beat the Phantom, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And then Laces versus Owls. The Laces are definitely cooking the Owls. So I guess we'll see what happens, guys, if my predictions are correct. I need to get my predictions up. I need to level up. I need to lock in. But I'm gonna see you guys next week, next Thursday. Be here. I'm gonna try to make sure the episodes are up by noon. And honestly, they can't go up any later than that because I have to go to work by like 1. So anyways, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.